I had started work right out of Lehigh in 1965, and my first job was in Newark as a state parole officer. There were the riots, there were shootings right up the street in Springfield Avenue. So it was a climate that may be good, may be bad, but it seemed to work to start a program right here in Newark.
When we started out, I had no idea, I had no conception of where we would land or end up. And when I came down to Lincoln Park, it still had a lot of the historic mansions on it, and I really enjoyed that type of look.
I talked to my mother, I said, it looked like this is going to be a program and we're trying to figure out what to call it. She didn't bat an eye, she said, you call it Integrity.
And she was right that it became a program, and probably one of the most important in New Jersey, and probably up there in the United States even.
Over the course of the past 50 years, we have had a vast expansion at Integrity House. We now treat over 3,000 individuals every year, and we continue to treat these individuals in our Newark location, and we also provide services in Secaucus, Jersey City, Bergen County, Morris County, and Ocean County. The therapeutic community model is a mode of treatment where individuals are living together and working together to help themselves and help each other. The atmosphere in the environment is that it's a very safe atmosphere. There's a lot of love and concern in that atmosphere. You have an opportunity to really build on your successes when it relates to things that you're really doing well. And at the same time, you have the opportunity to learn from areas where you have shortcomings.
I remember I would drive with my kids in the car, and they were very little at this point, to the liquor store every night. And they would say, I remember them vividly saying to me, Mommy, we're going to get your wine? Every night. And with the wine, I was mixing prescription opiates. It looks like a woman who went from being kind of depressed with how her life was to a full-blown drug addict and alcoholic. I had no possessions. My only possessions were heroin bags and needles. Those were my possessions. It went on for years like this. I was literally just sitting there, and I remember my father had said to me at one point, like, you're living like an animal. Like, you're living like an animal. How could you live like this? And I literally heard those words. Like, they just rang in my head. Like, I'm living like an animal. And I didn't want to live like an animal anymore. And Integrity House was the first one that I called.
Clients will come in and they think they're alone, and they think their stories are very unique. They come in hopeless, and they see that their problems aren't as big as they think they are.
It was kind of like a light switch for me that I thought to myself, wow, these people are gonna actually help me learn to live my life again and deal with my life and all the destruction when I get home. When I think about Integrity, I feel like they saved my life. I honestly do. Integrity saved my life.
Before drugs, my life was exciting. It was in a normal type of way. You know, family, I was married, I got married, had a daughter, ran a business. In 2010, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and I had a surgery. And after the surgery, I was prescribed some pain medication, and I began to abuse the pain medication. Ultimately, I figured out that heroin was the same as the pain pills that I was taking. I was going through cancer treatment and using drugs at the same time.
What we do here in helping individuals that are broken, love them. We're kind to them. We're open-minded. And we stay with the client until they're ready to help themselves.
Everything that they have set up, every rule and regulation they have is designed to get you back on track in the outside world. They wake you up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's when the rest of the world wakes up. You do some chores and do some cleanup at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when the rest of the world goes out to work. So you're simulating work. It's a way to get back on track in real life. Successful emotionally, successful spiritually, successful with family relations. So that's what I think about when I think of Integrity House. Getting back on track in real life to live a normal, happy life.
My mom was a very young mother, and she experimented with drugs, and that's how we really were introduced to it. About the age of 12 or 13, started smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol at about that age with an older cousin, and graduated to marijuana by the time I was 13. And by the time I was 15, I was experimenting with, cocaine. I remember my epiphany moment. I was once again homeless. I had a child, and someone that I knew had said, hey, I told my uncle about you, and he has his own business, and he's going to give you a job. And all you have to do is show up there. And I did what any good addict would do hey, you got a job. I went out and I used. And I used heroin and cocaine all night. And I didn't research the bus route or anything. And I was at Penn Station. And I was tapping on the information booth window, and there were two women inside, and they were talking. And they were just totally ignoring me. And I'm full of anxiety because I want to be on time at this job. And one woman, she turned to the other one and said, he is nothing but a junkie. He down here talking about a bus route for a job. He don't want no job. And those words, that was it. Excuse me. I knew my mother had been in treatment. She was doing very well. And the treatment facility was, down Broad Street. And I just walked in that day, and I said, I'm looking for my mother because I want to get in treatment. And it was in 103, which we called DB back then. He almost broke his neck getting up from that desk to run downstairs and get my mother. And I signed into treatment that day. Yeah. And as I came to terms and got a grip on my sobriety, I became to understand some of what my mother's struggle had to have been. But the blessing in all of it was that because of her addiction, where she went to get clean, me knowing that when I reached my transition point, I knew exactly where to go. I still draw a lot of inspiration, from her and her sobriety, and just so grateful that integrity was there. Integrity taught me to be open-minded with myself as well as other people, and that even if things didn't turn out the way that I had hoped they would, that there was always tomorrow. That the people, my integrity family, were going to be there no matter what.